Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? So, guess who's back? I'm back again. All right. So, as promised, I wanted to come back on here. Oh, sorry about that. And try to give you guys another lesson today. This lesson is just, hold on. Here we go. It's just a lot of notes that I wanted to be sure that they're notes that I have been writing and taking down over the last probably 4 to 5 months that I wanted to save for a coaching group like this. Just things that I wanted to pass to you. Some of the stuff, I've gotten from the Deep Nutrition book. Some of the stuff, I was reading a book called Spontaneous Healing. I've not finished that book. I'm going to be honest with you, it was not quite as good of a read as Deep Nutrition was. So I wanted to just, all these notes that I took on my phone, I wanted to share them with you and talk about them in a lesson. But of course there won't be a worksheet. I did just finish going through our lesson 7. And it's going to be really good. We're going to really delve into how vegetable oils are made and the why behind giving them up. I hope you guys can hear me. Oh, hand right in your face. So my little one is napping, and I'm hoping he's going to nap a while. And my big one is taking a bath. So that's why I'm talking kind of quiet, but hopefully you guys can hear me. It is 5:30 on Saturday afternoon. It is freezing in my house, and I'm sure it's cold outside too. I have not left my house today. I've done a lot, but I've not left my house. And it's 5:30 and I'm drinking another cup of coffee. So fun fact before I jump in. So I always put 2 scoops of collagen in my coffee every morning. And if I decide to have another cup of coffee during the day, I usually do 2 more scoops because, as you guys know, I've lost a lot of weight, and with that came a lot of loose skin. I don't know that collagen is going to help that loose skin, but my thought is certainly can't hurt. So I've been doing 2 to 4 scoops of collagen a day, and I was like, I wonder if I'm overdoing. Well, fast forward to 4 o'clock this morning when I could not sleep, and I turned on the TV. And there was an infomercial on with Dr. Axe, who makes the collagen that I use. And he and another guy were being interviewed. And they basically said, that they recommend 1 to 3 scoops a day. So, of course, I'm doing 2 to 4. But that basically there's nothing wrong with doing more. You can't really overdo. And because we get so little collagen in our diets now that it's almost like we're in a drought of collagen. And so with horses, like when you start a supplement with a horse, a lot of times the vet will tell you to do a loading dose, which basically means you're giving them quite a bit and then you're backing off. Now, some supplements, especially if they're feed through, you give them just a little bit and you build on it so they get used to it. But a lot of supplements, it's you have a couple of weeks of a loading dose and then you back it down to more of a normal dose. So I feel like that's kind of what I've been doing over the past probably 2 months is loading. Kind of filling in that drought of collagen that I've had for almost 40 years. And I'm going to tell you, I feel like I'm seeing some differences in my skin, definitely in my recovery. Actually had a message come to me today from one of my clients who she just had surgery, and she was like, do you think drinking the collagen will help my surgery recovery? And I'm like, look, it'll definitely heal where you were cut in the skin and heal the muscle. I said, but I'll tell you one thing, it's not going to hurt. So anyway, all right, so let's jump in here. So the first thing I have is about reading labels. We've already talked about the importance of that. I know right now none of you are on with me, but when you do watch this, do you have any questions about reading labels? And if you do, let me know. So one of the questions that I had asked early on with this is, what could a suitable diet and a suitable environment produce? And so I guess that's what I'm asking you guys. What, as we change the way we think about food, buy food, prepare food, what is that producing in you? For me, I feel better. I feel like I look better. I've lost weight. I've lost inches. I have more energy. I recover better. Now, I was very real and raw this morning, if you watch my rabbit hole video, that I've had a rough 2 weeks. But I think we're all allowed to have a rough 2 weeks, or a rough 3 weeks, or a rough day, or whatever. So I want you to think about, if you've not made these changes, what can making these changes really do for you and your family? So obviously you're here in this group, and the question is, are you ready to transition to a wholesome new way of living? I actually had someone message me today that was interested in this group, and she feels like she needs help with the nutrition side. And I said, I feel like this would help you. But I told her very, very blatantly and bluntly and upfront, I don't know if it will help you lose weight. I don't know if it will help you drop a dress size. It did for me. And I said, but we have, you have to put in the work. You have to be ready to transition into a wholesome new way of living. And that, I just look at, it's the whole picture. It's the mindset, it's the support, it's the sleep, it's what you're eating, what you need to say no to, etc. So an optimum diet, which is what we've been talking about, allows you to extract the maximum available nutrition from the edible world. That is our goal, is to no longer have nutrient deficits. We don't want that. We want to extract every bit of nutrition that we can. And so that is what this whole human diet is promoting, is an optimum diet where we can extract all the nutrients we need. What if we could live in a world where there was nothing extraordinary about fantastic health? What if fantastic health was just natural? And I believe that it should be. I think it's become normal for people to be sick, to hurt, to be tired. And it shouldn't be natural. It should be abnormal. It should be an anomaly that someone is sick. But it has become the norm. And what if the norm was fantastic health? And I truly believe the more people that change their way of looking at food and preparing food and choosing food, that being healthy will become normal. So the next question is, and you guys, when you watch this video and you hear these questions, answer them. Answer them honestly. If you disagree with me, tell me. This is a safe place for us to debate and talk, etc. So one of the things that we skipped over in the book was the chapter about the correlation between physical beauty and health. So my question to you is, if you've read the book or listened to the Audible and you listen to that chapter, do you, after reading or listening to that, do you believe that physical beauty and health are related? Because I do. Mainly in the sense of someone who is eating right and working out, they have this natural glow about them. And I think it translates into something beautiful. I think a woman who is carrying a child and she is taking in the optimum diet, I think it allows for her child to develop the way children should develop. Are there anomalies? Yes. But just like a child whose mother abused alcohol and they have fetal alcohol syndrome, Could the same not be said for those of us who during our pregnancies didn't eat well? Did it cause issues? Did it cause a formation, like certain things not to form properly? I'm not saying that it did or it didn't, but I do believe the healthier we eat, the more it equates to physical beauty. And then we could get real philosophical and talk about, well, what is beauty? Because people see beauty differently. What if we could have a healthy living environment that was beautiful and that beauty expressed itself through our bodies? This is the same thing. So we eat right, we exercise, we get our sleep, we get our support, we get our water in, we're hydrated. I think that it does express itself through our bodies. We have talked about how eating the correct things expresses itself through our genes, and it shows itself on the outside of our bodies. Not always, but in a lot of ways. And eating the wrong things is going to express itself to the outside of our bodies. So I do believe that a healthy living environment is going to show through on the outside. If something in your life isn't healthy, it's going to show through. If you have negative influences, it's going to show through. It's just like, I've had a tough couple days. I've had some negativity nagging at me, and it did not make for a pretty Melissa. It made for a really sad, despondent Melissa that wasn't beautiful. So we have to have a full, whole, healthy living environment. So what we're doing here is we're learning to look at food as something that functions to design every sinew and fiber of our bodies, even down to mental health and balance. And this goes back to, again, I have a rough couple of days, and I told you guys, like, I want to go get donuts. I want to go get wine. I want to go get ice cream, whatever, brownies, cookies, cakes. And so that is not what's best for my mental health and my balance. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever have a brownie or a piece of candy or a donut, but we need to start living in such a way that everything forms every fiber of our being, even down to our balance and our mental health. And I believe, had I been in a better place this last 2 weeks, that email that I got probably wouldn't have affected me the same way. And I had a friend message me today, and she said, but Melissa, it's not true. And it should only upset you if it's true. And I said to her, some of it is true. I am still fat. That is true. And that hurts because I still have 50 to 75 pounds to go. The other parts, not true. Those parts don't bother me near as much. But being told that you are fat, being called fat, is devastating. And maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's no different than saying she's a blonde. I don't know. What do you think? So, do you think we're as advanced as we think we are? We've been talking about that we as Americans think that we're very forward moving, we're very advanced, when in all actuality, I don't know that we are. What do you think? So this whole thing tonight is, what do you think? What are you getting from all of this? So we've talked about eating well is expensive, and we've talked about the question of, instead of asking why is eating well so expensive, and start asking why is eating bad so cheap. But in the face of so many barriers to good nutrition, what are ordinary people to do? And we've been answering that. So what is your advice? What would you tell someone outside of this group to do in the face of so many barriers, how to get a hold of good things and good nutrition? The next question goes right along with that. Is it even possible in this day and age to get the nutrients we need without breaking your bank? And I believe the answer is yes. I believe we can do it through the food we eat. I think we can do it through supplementation. I think that there are supplementation out there that are full of everything that we need that are affordable. And I think if we eat more of a human diet, we're going to be getting more of what we have been lacking for years. So we want to find special ways to make food as nutritious as possible. And I'm jumping ahead here. Some of this is going to be giving you like forethought to what's coming in our teaching. So we're going to talk about organ meats, okay? Remember early on, we talked about the wisdom of our ancestors. We're going to talk about that a lot. Everything's going to come back to that, the wisdom of our ancestors. And remember, we talked about when they would butcher an animal, it was nose to tail, tip to tail, okay? They used everything, even down to the organs. There is so much nutrition in the organ meats that we miss out on. Now, if you're like me, and this is the first time you're hearing this, you may be running for the hills. But I'm here to tell you that there are ways that are not disgusting to get those nutrients and those organ meats in. And I'm going to talk to you guys more about that because I have found some products that Dr. Kate approves of that I actually, I haven't been as good about taking them in recently, but I actually throw in my gym bag to eat before or after a workout to get those organ meats in. And we're going to talk about the whys. So like I said, this is a little bit of foreshadowing to let you know. The reason I wanted to do this is it's February 1st. It's the beginning of a new month. And I wanted you to know a little bit of what's coming. So we've talked about this, and I'm just going to mention it quickly again. How do you feel about the phrase that I have said, and I'm going to say again, and I said it in the Nutrition and Sugar 101 workshop. We were not created to snack, okay? I think we grow up, and I even remember teaching Alex. So we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we have a 10 o'clock snack and a 3 o'clock snack. Well, that's actually not how our ancestors did it. They ate when food was available. Now, probably our grandparents and great-grandparents, they probably were more 3 meals a day, but they probably didn't do snacks. You know what I mean? Now, my grandparents gave me snacks. But we weren't created to snack. We were more, you have to think about our ancestors. They didn't always have food accessible. So when the food was accessible, they ate, and when it wasn't, they were fasting. And so this goes back to that whole taking in this intermittent fasting, which I think all of us do. If we don't do it daily, we do it a couple times a week, of letting our body rest and recharge by fasting. Okay, so we've already talked about this, and we're going to get into more of the whys. But 2 things that if you have not yet done it, stop it immediately, and that's vegetable oils and sugar. Even if nothing else I say, and in this next couple of weeks, if you don't change anything else, change those 2 things. I said something about organ meats. If you don't want to try organ meats, that's fine. But drop the sugar and drop the vegetable oils as much as you can. We're going to get into talking about free radicals and how that relates to vegetable oils. I want us, over the next few weeks, to start looking at our diets as a cause and a cure. Okay, so if something's going wrong, instead of immediately thinking, well, I need to go to the doctor, or is it a virus, or did I break something, or whatever, start looking at what we're eating. Could it have caused this? But then I also want you to look at our eating as a cure. If this is going on, if I change this, can it cure it? Now, I am not a doctor, and I am not saying that everything in this book is going to fix all of your problems and everything's going to be hunky-dory, but I think there's power in changing the way you eat and changing the way you think about food. So start looking at your food as a cause and a cure, okay? And let's stop looking at food I talked to a client today about, I just can't seem to get my macros right. Stop worrying about your macros. Worry about the quality of the ingredients you're putting in. Now, I know that there's trainers out there that would have my head. I know that there's trainers out there that do not believe in intermittent fasting. I ran into one of my old trainers, and he's like, the first thing I try to get my clients doing is eating 4 meals a day. And then I get them up to 5 and then 6. And I'm going, what? And I stopped him and I said, well, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? He's like, well, I guess if it works for you, do it. And I said, well, I've lost the majority of my weight from intermittent fasting. And he's like, well, like I said, if it works for you, it works for you. A lot of the things that I am teaching and this book is teaching goes against everything that a lot of personal trainers, not all, a lot of personal trainers, a lot of dietitians, a lot of nutritionists, a lot of doctors say is wrong. Even in the earlier video talking about low fat, a lot of trainers and stuff are still pushing low fat stuff. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. I think we need to be eating real food, and sucking fat out of something and putting sugar in its place so it tastes good is not real. That's doing something in a lab in order to make it taste good. So like I said, a lot of the things that I'm saying I know would not be smiled upon by some trainers and some specialists or whatever, but I know what's been working for me and making things better for me and my family, and I just want to share it with you. And I want to change people and help them change their bodies. I want people to be their best and happiest and healthiest selves. We're going to get into talking about sugar and sugar addiction. We talked about that a little bit in our Sugar and Nutrition 101. Sugar is more addicting than cocaine. Sugar can have the same effects of an opiate, which is scary because we're living in an opiate epidemic in our country, and where opiates are considered a controlled substance, but we're handing out sugar like it ain't nothing. So, I don't agree with people who abuse pain pills, but in the same hand, we tend to use sugar to dull the pain, even emotional pain, if that makes sense. So let me ask you a question, and you may already be there, but what is it, or what would it be like to be free of sugar cravings and have your taste buds rejuvenated? We're so used to everything being sweet that we don't know how things actually taste. So if we can cut the sugar, cut the cravings, we can start tasting food for what it really is. This also goes back to sugar feeds an acidic environment. And when we are in an acidic state, anything healthy is going to taste bad. And when we become in an alkaline state, which we get there by cutting sugar and eating the right things that are good for us start to taste better. And I shared in my nutrition group, in my nutrition workshop, that I used to hate that San Pellegrino sparkling water. Really, any sparkling waters that didn't have sucralose or aspartame in it, I didn't like, because I wanted it sweet. And the more I'm cutting, and I've been honest with you guys, I'm not perfect. I still have sugar. I'm still using up some Splenda in my house, which is sucralose, but I'm trying to get rid of it. And but the further I get away from those old bad habits, the better things are tasting. And I now can drink a San Pellegrino sparkling water because I love bubbles without anything in it. I had to get there. I started by mixing lemon juice, fruit, and monk fruit sweetener, and then pouring the sparkling water over it, so I had that same effect. But now I don't even have to do that. So that is a testament to breaking away from those cravings. A lot of people say, and we're going to get into this more, and again, this is a little bit of foreshadowing, well, I'm not taking any sugar in, but they're eating fruit. And then the response to me is, well, it's fruit. Or, well, I fix a bowl of yogurt with honey and granola and blah, 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 and blueberries, for an example. And I'm going, there's so much sugar in that. But they're like, but it's honey. It's natural. And yes, it is. But when we are living in a state, a health crisis epidemic of diabetes, we have to understand that sugar is sugar. And we need to gravitate towards things that are found in nature that don't spike our blood sugar. We've already talked about this, but I'm just gonna say it again. Food is more than fuel, it is information. Processing of food garbles the chemical information nature intended for food to impart to our bodies, organs, bones, joints, hormones, and more. I talked to somebody today that, her response was, well, my problem area is my stomach. And I have heard more women, number one, tell me my problem area is my stomach. And I think that the misconception is, well, I need to do more core exercises. Now, there's nothing wrong with core exercises, but I'm going to tell you right now, knowing what I know now and also knowing what doctors have also told some of my clients, women having a tummy speaks more to hormones than anything else. So that's something to think about. The food we're eating can either make our hormones happy or angry. And the happier they are, the less that they're going to be making our tummies bigger. And you've seen the commercials that basically say that cortisol is causing your belly fat. Well, cortisol is a hormone. So our cells in our body are extremely sensitive to the specific nature of the chemical messages we send them every time we eat. I think doctors, not all, and medical professionals think that our bodies are stupid, but the truth is our bodies were created perfectly. What happens is we come into the world perfect, and then we start perverting what is perfect with the food we eat. And I think what we underestimate is how sensitive our bodies are and our cells are, and that we need to be careful of what we eat, because what we eat is what's sending those messages. The more we understand the reasons our bodies create and retain fat, like belly fat, the better we can understand how to turn unwanted fat into something better. Here's one thing too that I talked about, if you didn't watch the video, is whether you're pre-diabetic or have diabetes or whatever, blood sugar spikes make it where you can't build muscle as well as effectively. And so even if you're not diabetic, you want to avoid blood sugar spikes if you're looking to turn that fat into muscle, if that makes sense. So obesity isn't a simple matter. It is a complex problem of multiple imbalances. The real solution will not come from technology, but biology in the form of healthy food. When signals are blocked, the crucial question is what might be blocking them? A kind of chemical static that interferes with normal metabolic processes called inflammation. And one thing today when I was studying and reading, and I kept thinking about inflammation, what comes to mind is swelling, being larger. And so I think when I think of inflammation, it also speaks to being bigger. Now, that's not all inflammation is, and I understand that. But if we are eating in such a way that we are blocking these metabolic processes, our bodies are going to be inflamed. Whether it's at the point of a joint or in our back or whatever, we need to start thinking inflamed. You know what I mean? Big, blown up. All right. Instead of, and this is so important, and I talked about this in the workshop, instead of focusing on calories, if we look at the signals different meals generate, we can readily understand why processed foods make us build fat and why the human diet helps us to lose it. One of the things that I've told you guys, and I'm going to repeat it again, is when you look at a package, jump down below the nutrition facts and start looking at the ingredients. there's nothing wrong with looking at nutrition facts, but if you look at the ingredients and you are okay with all the ingredients, you know what they are, and you can pronounce them, most likely the nutrition facts are okay. But this does go back to what I was saying earlier today about not overdoing good things. Balance, okay? But I think a lot of people think, well, I'm eating right. I'm not, it's this whole eat less, move more. Well, if you're eating less crap, but it's still crap, it's not going to change things. It might change things a little bit, but sooner or later you're going to hit a wall where you've got to change everything. And that's where we're at. And I talked to another client that was wanting to fine tune her nutrition. And I truly believe that this is some of the things that might need to be done for her because she's come a long way. But I think we have to break through that wall and start looking at not the nutrition facts, not the calories, not the carbs, not the protein, not the fat, but the ingredients. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I wanted to do this today, February 1st, new month, etc. Okay? So this is a little bit of what we're going to be talking about in lesson 7. Vegetable oils are high in polyunsaturated fats, okay? And they call those PUFAs, PUFAs, okay? They are particularly prone to oxidation and readily deform into the collection of distorted fatty acids called megatrans, which means bad. And the one thing we're going to talk about is when you hear or see polyunsaturated fats, or PUFA, PUFA equals poof. They're highly flammable, okay? That's what I want you to think about. And then go back to that thought of flammable inflammation. I need you to start thinking in those terms. To successfully avoid eating oxidized fats, you must avoid all foods containing vegetable oils. And lesson 7 is going to get into all the whys of that. Saturated fats. Saturated fats are the real fats that come from, it's animal fat. They resist oxidation, okay? And oxidation is, okay, here's how I think of oxidation. When you cut open an avocado, if you don't put some lemon on it, air hits it. Oxygen hits it and turns it brown, okay? And it distorts it. It makes it kind of ugly. So with bad vegetable oils, when we apply heat and it oxidizes, it becomes toxic. It becomes ugly and it becomes dangerous. Okay, now avocado turning brown is not dangerous, but think of it in those terms. Oxidation. I've even heard makeup artists talk about oxidation, like sometimes this particular foundation will oxidize. When the air hits it, it will change color. So these are the things that you need to think about. Okay, saturated fats resist oxidation so much so that in the body it can help check inflammation before it gets too far out of control. Eating foods like butter, cream, and coconut oil can protect against some of the worst effects of oxidation and can actually help you lose weight. So we've got to break away from the mindset that eating fat makes you fat. Eating unnatural fat makes you fat, okay? There are lots of types of sugar, but there is really no sugar that is good for you. Sugar sticks to things. So think of the word sugar coating on your cells in the form of what they call GE, and it blocks hormone signals. This blocking ability is disruptive, and so sugar itself, when consumed in high levels, is pro-inflammatory. Okay, so just consider the thoughts of eating high sugar and a lot of vegetable oils, and it's like inflammatory. So if you've got joint issues, if you've got gallbladder issues, if you've got chronic pain, whatever you have, stop vegetable oils and sugar, and I can almost guarantee you're going to have better results. Excess dietary sugars disrupts hormonal signals for building muscle, which is what I just talked about. To avoid inflammation, keep your total daily sugar and carbohydrate intake under 100 grams. Now notice, it's not just sugar and it's not just carbs. It's both of them together, under 100 grams. One reason that diets fail is that cutting back on calories, and I just said this, without changing any other habits, send precisely the wrong message to your body. So we don't want to fail anymore. We want to succeed. So we have to change everything else. And that's why the other night I knew most of the people in the workshop, and I'm like, I don't care if you are keto or paleo or Whole30 or vegan or Weight Watchers or whatever. I don't care what you do. I care what you put in your body. So if you're following Weight Watchers, you just need to be reading ingredients. And if you're following keto, fine, but be reading your ingredients. You do not need to starve to get rid of the flab, and I think that is a major misconception. Even from my first doctor when I moved back here, he wanted me to be eating 1,000 calories a day, and I'm like, and working out as much as I am? I don't think so. We must learn to transform the flab into the healthy tissues of a brand new, beautiful you by changing what we eat and sending the right signals to the cells in our body. And we've talked about this before. But you are what you eat, right? And our cells are constantly changing. Our largest organ is our skin, okay? And so the better we eat, when our cells are changing and regenerating, the better things are going to be in our body, okay? Okay. I'm not sure what that's about. When the body gets all the real food, exercise, and rest that it needs, the default reaction is to convert unwanted fat cells into something better. So basically, we just need to remember, and this is one thing I told my son, like when I started my journey, I know that I was a little bit like obsessive about things. And I think it made him a little bit obsessive. And I finally sat down with him and I said, Bud, I think at the time he was 8 or 9 years old. And I said, Bud, here's what I want you to worry about. I want you to eat right. I want you to play and exercise and be active. And I want you to sleep well. And I don't want you to worry about the rest. And I believe if we would all live under those guidelines, we would be so much better off. Eat well, eat right, daily movement, good sleep, stay hydrated, stay connected to people, not just social media. Get that support you need and have a great mindset, and everything else will fall into place. And we can, my little one's awake, we can turn those unwanted fat cells into something better. So how good you feel tomorrow is going to depend a lot on what you eat today. Hey, bud, I'm in here. Be confident that a good diet can straighten out even the most confused immune system. So don't ever think that you're too far gone. All right, now this is a big note. If you wouldn't put it on your skin, don't put it on in your mouth, okay? And that's one thing I love about coconut oil. I was talking to somebody the other night, and I'm like, coconut oil is good for everything. It's good for your hair. It's good for your skin. It's good for your insides, everything. And just a note, coconut oil is one of the best makeup removers there is. You want them to see Rudolph? Hmm? Yeah? Come here. I'll let y'all see my sick little man. Come here. Can you say hi? Yeah. He's all rosy cheeked. I also brush my teeth with coconut oil. Can you show him your teeth? Okay. Cheese. All right, we're almost done. If we need to stop putting band-aids on our problems and health and suppressing the disease to who knows where within the body, but actually use food to heal or make the body whole. So here's what I was getting at about our skin. Our skin, where's our skin? Is that our skin? Uh-huh. Yeah. This skin is made up of everything we've eaten over the last 3 months. So every 3 months, the better you eat, the better everything is going to look. So it's going to take time, but you can do it. So I'm really looking forward to lesson 7, where we get more deeply into a lot of these things. Be sure to comment, answer the questions when you watch this, and I look forward to talking to y'all more. All right, happy February. May February be better than January. Yes. And I'll talk to y'all all soon. Bye. It's going to take me a minute.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.